The New York Knicks have been one of the most surprising teams to begin the new season, winning 4 of their first 7 games. This is getting fans excited, as it seems winning basketball may finally be making a return to the Garden. With that being said though, how has this happened? What Knicks players have suddenly stepped up and allowed for such a great start to the season that seemed impossible only a couple of weeks ago? I'll be taking a look at that in today's video, as well as discussing the Knicks season so far and telling you why I believe the Knicks can be in contention for a playoff seed all season long. Before we start, if you're new here and enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe for more NBA content like this. I'm trying to hit 16,000 subscribers by February, so all support would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, with that all being said, let's talk about the New York Knicks. The Knicks have won 4 games already this year, and it's not like they've beaten bad competition only to get these dubs. Their first win of the season came in a blowout win over the Milwaukee Bucks, which in itself is a huge upset. But the fact they absolutely dominated all game long was an even bigger surprise. They followed this with a solid win over Cleveland, who were off to a hot start to their 2021 campaign, so that's still a significant win in my books. Their third win of the season came against the Indiana Pacers, who they had lost to on opening night, clinching a 4-point win off the back of an elite performance from RJ Barrett. And finally today, the Knicks got their second win in a row with a clutch finish over the Atlanta Hawks, who at some points during this short season already have seemed like the team to beat out east. Now that leaves the Knicks with a record over 500 and in the 5th seed, trailing only the Sixers, Magic, Pacers and Celtics. Things are looking up for New York, but how have they done so well? What players have stepped up for them? The first player that we have to talk about is Julius Randle, because he's been ridiculously good to begin this season and absolutely no one saw it coming.
Luka.
Last season, Randle was awful. There were many reports about teammates being frustrated with him and his play style. He wasn't hitting shots regularly, and honestly, I expected a similar trend to continue into this year. However, I couldn't have been further from being right, as Randle has flat out balled thus far. In 6 games so far, he's averaging 21 points, 10 rebounds and 7 assists on elite shooting splits, 50% from the field and 50% from 3. It's just crazy how well he is playing. His impact is being felt heavily, seen with his box plus minus of positive 3.6, and he's showing significant improvement, currently having the best offensive and defensive net rating of his career. I'm honestly not sure how Randle has had such a giant turnaround over the offseason, but he's playing out of his mind right now. He's a fantastic first option on offense, and he's making a case for an all-star appearance. He's been the biggest reason why, in my opinion, that the Knicks have started so well, so obviously, I just had to talk about him today. Another player surprisingly balling out right now is the Knicks rookie Emmanuel Quickley. He's only played 3 games, so this is a very small sample size, but coming off the bench, Quickley has been averaging 8 points on great efficiency, and recently had a mini breakout performance against Atlanta, dropping 16 points. I think this is thanks to the Knicks starting to trust him a lot more as a primary ball handler in the second unit, so I'm sensing some promising development out of this slept-on pick. Again, this is a very small sample size, so I won't overhype him too much, but Quickley's clearly making an impact out there in his limited minutes as a rookie, and for Knicks fans, I understand why you may be getting a bit excited. A veteran who's been rock solid for the Knicks and is holding down the fort early on is Austin Rivers. Rivers is averaging 11 points per game and is shooting incredibly, 60% from the field and 40% from deep. Austin's impact goes further than just basketball though. He's been an excellent leader for the Knicks so far and fits the mold of a veteran starting point guard perfectly. Rivers will be one of the main guys to guide this young New York team to success, so his impact should not be understated on this team. A guy who's been amazing as well is Barrett. Barrett went crazy in his first game of the season. I think he only missed like 5 shots for the whole game and dropped over 25, but until recently, he's struggled to hit his shots. As I said though, it seems he's found his form again, and in his last 2 games, both wins for the Knicks, he's dropped 25 and 26 respectively, so his projectile to stardom seems to be well on track. So far this season, he's averaging just under 20 a night on pretty poor efficiency overall, but again, he had a stretch of awful shooting games, so with such a small sample of games, the fluctuation is to be expected. Overall, it seems as if Barrett will take a sophomore leap. Maybe not as big of a one like Ja Morant and Zion Williamson may have, but one nonetheless that will see him become one of the better young players in the league. RJ, though streaky, has been killing it early on and has been a major contributor to the success of the Knicks so far. Second to last now, I want to talk about Obi Toppin. In limited minutes, Toppin has showed a lot of promise offensively and defensively, but with the breakout of Julius Randle, he has been restricted a bit. His ability in the pick and roll has been fantastic though, and he should be a guy the Knicks keep around long term. The biggest strength of his game thus far has to be his 3-point shooting. He's shooting 7 per game and hitting over 42%, which is amazing, especially this early on in his career. I doubt he maintains this level for the rest of the season, but if he keeps it above league average, that's a valuable factor he can provide for the Knicks throughout this season consistently. He's a rookie, so I won't judge him too harshly or overhype him over a few games, but Toppin has looked solid so far and has enormous potential, in my opinion. And finally, I want to briefly touch on Alec Burks. There's not a lot of evidence out there, but I've been a big fan of Burks for a while, particularly when he was on Golden State last season. He showed plenty of promise in that time to become what he is now essentially. Burks is quietly having an elite start to this season, averaging 21, 4 and 4 in 27 minutes of action per game, as well as shooting at a phenomenal efficiency of 53% from the field and 66% from 3. Now, best believe this won't continue for much longer, but don't think this is a fluke either, more of a hot stretch from him. Burks has consistently shot near or more than 40% from deep throughout his career, and in a system like New York, I think this can continue. He's an underrated member of this team and deserves a lot more love. His few games in this new season have been nothing short of remarkable, so hopefully I've been able to shine a light on him for you guys today. So those are all the key guys killing it for the Knicks right now and leading them to a potential playoff berth. There are obviously some others putting in the work, like Mitchell Robinson, but those players that I mentioned are the ones I feel like are making the most impact for New York right now. But how good are the New York Knicks? Are they actually playoff contenders? Well, let's take a look at how the Knicks compare to their fellow competition. I consider the Knicks to be better than teams like Detroit, Charlotte, and maybe the Bulls. It depends on the day there. They're on a similar level to teams like Washington, Toronto if the Raptors play on a decent level, Orlando, and I'd chuck on Cleveland too. Not because Cleveland are better than New York, but because they're not worse than them. Before this season, no one would have expected either Cleveland or New York to be in contention for the 8th seed potentially. That's what's crazy to me. Anyway, that leaves the Bucks, Nets, Heat, 76ers, Pacers, Hawks, and Celtics as teams I view as being better than New York. Now, I know they've beaten a few of those teams, but I still consider in the long run them to be worse than them. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say the Knicks are better than Milwaukee because they beat them once in the regular season. However, with 7 teams being pretty clearly better than New York to me, that leaves one playoff spot left, the 8th seed, and I truly think the Knicks are a major underdog to steal that seed. I personally don't think they will. I'd probably take a team like the Magic over them at minimum to beat them for it, but that's not to say they're within a chance. I've watched a lot of Knicks basketball this past week or so, and this team definitely looks a lot better than they were last season. With the uprise of Randle, the Knicks are looking like a serious playoff contender, and whilst I think it's a bit unlikely that they'll make it, I would still give them a fair chance to somehow get there this season. So overall, these are my thoughts on the New York Knicks. Thanks to the amazing start from Julius Randle in particular, the Knicks are surprising everyone and playing some good winning basketball. Enjoyable basketball to watch at that too. They're 4-3, doing better than the Brooklyn Nets and are beating legitimate contending teams, not some bottom feeders that they would be expected to win against. Knicks basketball is finally fun again, and it's great to see, and hopefully it can last throughout the rest of the season, because after all the fan base has been through, they finally deserve some good quality basketball in their city. And with Randle dominating, Barrett coming into his own, and fantastic support from the backup talent, I fully expect for that to happen. And that will conclude the video. What do you guys think of this? How good are the New York Knicks to you? Can they make the playoffs in your opinion? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I am out. Peace.